A 5-year investigation by the U.S. Justice Department found that Arizona's Department of Child Safety has repeatedly violated the civil rights of children and parents with disabilities. Mary Jo Pitzel of the Arizona Republic and azcentral.com has been covering this story. She joins us now. Thank you so much for joining us here. First of all, what exactly did the DOJ look at?
They looked at the treatment of parents, disabled parents who may have children who are or are not disabled. But the focus was on how the parents were treated as they interacted with the system. As you know, DCS has the authority to, if necessary, intervene in family relations. They can remove children from what they believe is a harmful or abusive environment. And this becomes, I mean, it's challenging to do that. But when you have parents who are visually impaired, they have hearing issues, or some cognitive issues, it becomes very complicated. And the U.S. Department of Justice found that in a couple of cases that they cited that those parents' civil rights were not being respected.
What led to the investigation?
Complaints.
Just a number of complaints piled up, and it was enough.
Some of these parents picked up the phone or went online and filed a complaint directly with the feds.
So again, reasonable accommodation issues. In other words, translators for folks who need sign language, this sort of thing.
Yeah, they gave some suggestions, like how some of these situations could have been avoided. For example, they had a woman who was given they were going to remove her child. She couldn't understand because she was deaf. And then they handed her a piece of paper that explained it, and it's unclear if she didn't know, if she was visually impaired or she didn't know how to read. But she didn't understand what the heck was going on, and they took her child.
Yeah, oh my goodness. And again, parents don't know what's happening. Kids, in many respects, don't know what's happening as well.
Yeah, they're just, they're sort of the innocent victims in all this.
Did I read as well in your story, mental health disabilities, some were called crazy and psycho by some of the workers there? Is that true?
Yeah, well, apparently, according to the DOJ, I don't think it's, rampant throughout the agency. I mean, I haven't heard a lot of complaints about that, but it's a culture thing, understanding how to speak properly about people with disabilities and not using derogatory terms.
So what did the DOJ say? What kind of solutions? What do they want to see?
They said, okay, we want an answer in 2 weeks. This came in mid-December. And, if you don't work with us, then we may have to sue. Well, the Department of Child Safety got back to them and said, look, we don't agree with your findings, but we want to work with the feds to figure things out and, address some of these issues. So they're starting to have conversations about what this will look like. The feds wanted them to appoint an ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, liaison. Well, they have one. They did that in 2023. So I expect probably a long period of discussions between DC and the Department of Child Safety.
If they have that liaison and had it for a while, why was this? Was that in reaction to something that maybe they were hearing?
Perhaps. I don't know the origin of it. And I'm also unclear if any of these complaints that the federal government acted on came to this state-level appointee. It's
interesting.
It's unclear that trail.
Timing of all of this at the end of the Biden administration, what do we make of that?
I think they wanted to get this out the door, maybe for fearing that the Trump administration may not follow through on it and may not see it as much of an issue.
So what's next in all this?
These conversations with the Department of Justice, and I suspect some internal refreshing of training on how to deal with parents with disabilities. It's coming at a tough time for the agency. They don't have a permanent director, and they're still trying to dig out from this big technological computer issue that's really held up a lot of children's cases. It's kept families in limbo.
The reunification issues and the adoption documentation issues and all of this kind of stuff, they really are, they're always, it seems like that particular part of government is always fighting it.
Well, yeah, it's a very difficult position. I mean, from having covered it for a while, I mean, you really can't do anything right and you can't do anything. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't in many cases. But it's got to get straightened out, and we'll see, especially if they're going to be able to get a permanent director as opposed to a temporary one.
Are they going to get a permanent director?
We'll see when the legislative session starts, and to see if Hobbs has not presented a nominee yet to the Senate. But the Senate's been doing a pretty hard vet of all these candidates. And so tune in
Yeah.
I think this will happen in January and early February.
Okay, because we're going to talk about this tomorrow in the Journalists Roundtable.
Yep.
Just the process of the governor once again trying to get her nominees through. But this one's a biggie, and this is important.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, and the agency does need some stability. They've got all these issues to deal with, and just the day-to-day, work that they do with families to keep them together, or in some cases to separate the children from their parents, supposedly for the safety of the kids.
Yeah, that's the reunification issues. Mary Jo Pitzel, Arizona Republic, good stuff.
Sure.
Good to
Thank
have
you.
you here.